Hi, I'm Dave. Welcome to the channel. In this video, we're going to look at the Racer Sideways Group 5 BMW 320. So the first thing I need to say is please excuse through this video my slightly bunged up, congested, nasal voice. The season has turned and I've picked up the first cold of the year, unfortunately, but I'm still here, still playing with slot cars. So, Racer Sideways slot cars. I love this one. It's got a whole lot of warnings on the back that basically say, don't eat the magnets. Okay, I won't eat the magnets. So, nice protective plastic cover. Always handy. It means you do actually get a car in one piece when it turns up. Now this, I bought as second hand, but I'm pretty sure this is new old stock. This car was made by Racer Sideways in 2017. So I picked it up off eBay, supposedly second hand, but it's looking very brand new to me. Now we should probably get the collector bit out of the way first. So this is effectively a GS tuning Warsteiner Racing BMW 320. And so is this one. This one's slightly earlier. For the geeky bit, it's got the Gothic Warsteiner on here. And indeed, this even earlier one is a Gothic Warsteiner. And it's not the same Warsteiner as the later one, which is that very sort of Timesy kind of font. Now this seems to have been a transient logo. It didn't last for very long. These cars are both, in fact all three of these cars, are part of the same GS Tuning Warsteiner racing stable. These two, of course, are our good friend Jörg Obermoser. Now, this one is a different guy called Albrecht Krebbs. We'll get to him in a little while. So yes, that's the collector aspect of this out of the way. It's got this in-between stylized logo, and it's a probably more yellowy gold than these other two. I don't know quite what else to say other than the fact that obviously when it appeared on eBay I had to have it. And much as I don't really go on about them much on this channel, I do quite like a Racer Sideways car. I've got 4 others, 2 more BMWs like this, and 2 of the Mk2 Escorts. There are some early videos, I don't suggest you go back and watch them, of me stumbling into a microphone even worse than I do now about those cars. But, you know, we'll cover the better points of it and me with a few more years knowledge than back then. So we should revisit Racer Sideways as a brand on this channel, I think. Now, the first thing I need to say is they contain quite a lot of slotted parts. And actually, these days, when you think about the price of a slotted car now is 60 to 70 pounds in some cases. These used to be a little bit more expensive, but the price of these hasn't gone up. So they're about the same price as a slotted. But I think you get a better product and you get more to play with, and it's better out the box. As you know, I've had plenty of can't run it out of the box trouble with a slotted. This is my 5th Racer Sideways car. Now, I don't know about this one yet. I might be setting myself up for a fall, but the other 4 ran all right out of the box. I've tuned them and tweaked them since, but they did. So we'll find out in due course whether that is the case. Now, what I mean by you get a better product is you get a bag of goodies under here. Now, this bag of goodies we'll go through maybe in a bit, but it's here. And they give you, wrapped up in here,
a fiddly little Allen key to do the fiddly little really, really tiny grub screws with. Now these bits are all about changing the ride height of the back of the car and adjusting how a motor would sit in the pod. The pod, again, we'll get to in just a moment. So yes, you get all this kind of value added when you get a sideways car. And I really like that. The other great thing about these is they're just a 90-degree turn. They're not screwed in by some horrible machine to high torques like a scale electric car is. So yes, this I think is a better product than a slot-it for a number of reasons, most of which are underneath and involve this really very clever motor pod, which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws. Angle winder configuration with the long can. It does have a yellow slot-it gear. This one seems to be okay. I have got one other one which has got a cracked gear from the dodgy batch. So got away with it with this one. Like I say, I don't think this car has really been run. Maybe somebody's trued the tyres a little bit, but I don't think this is very second-hand at all. Same setup as you'd expect from a slot-it car, in that it's got just the 2 screws that hold the body to the chassis. Adjustment available in the front axle. Adjustment available, well, just about everywhere really. And 2 places to put the magnet, as you'd expect, or take it out completely. So yeah, I'm now going to just proof of the pudding here. Is this going to run absolutely fresh straight out the box? I'll pull the braids up a little bit, move these bits out of the way here, and I'll pop it on the track, and I'll move you up there a bit, and we'll see how we go. This is going to get a bit shaky, but I want to do it all in one take, so bear with me. Right then, that'll do, I reckon. Let's switch some power on here. And see if this car will run out the box. Oops, got a bit carried away there. But there you are. That is a what you would call hobbyist grade car that does run straight out the box. I would say, you know, it's a bit slippery in that corner because I could probably do with sanding my track, cleaning my track a little bit over there. And the tyres could probably do with just taking the surface off. But, you know, gear mesh is all right. Straight out the box. This car has not been adjusted by anybody at all. The braids are brand new until I fiddled with them. So yes, this car is a hobbyist car that will put in a reasonable lap straight out of the box. So here we are at the turntable. Now, before we look in great detail at this body, let me just remind you that this car was made in 2017. So at time of recording, it is 8 years ago. And in those 8 years, production, quality, standards, detail and everything has come along a very long way. But with that in context, even by today's standards of slot cars, this is very good. I mean, for a start, I can't find a blemish on the bodywork at all. There's no paint sinks, there's no smudges, there's no anything like that. It is a consistent gold colour throughout. In terms of details, the front grille with the old BMW kidney bean insignia on the front is exquisitely detailed. There's the riveting around the windows, all those bits and pieces, down to the finest details. Although it is a fully flooded cockpit, so the driver is only hanging on to the top half of a steering wheel, that top half of a driver doesn't have boxing glove hands. It's got hands that look like hands, and even his safety harnesses have yellow safety labels and things embroidered into them. There is a high level of detail on the detail that is within the cockpit, if that makes sense. The other slightly misleading thing on this car is the number. It isn't 77, it's number 11, but there's a continental way of writing a 1 that kind of makes it look like a 7 if you're British, or probably American. Anyway, let's just talk about Albrecht himself. So he, still alive and kicking, 82 years old. His first documented racing is in 1969 when he was 26 years old. Now, I'd imagine he'd probably done an amount of racing before that, but I can't find anything about that. But in 1969, he started racing BMW 2002s, and he had really no success that's documented for years until 1973 at the Zolder GT, where he became a winner for the first time. So his first really recorded result is a first in a BMW 3-litre CSL. And 1974 saw him race a Ford Capri in DRM, and he did quite well there. 5 podiums, 2 of which were wins, and was top 10 8 times that season. 1975, again a very good season. He went back to a BMW 3.0 CSL, 4 wins in that season. And then in 76, 77 and into 78, I think he was probably past his best in terms of race result form. He started driving the BMW 2002 Turbo in Class 2 in DRM, and moved on to the BMW 320 when it was released in 1978 for GS tuning, which eventually turned in 1979 into Warsteiner team racing, which we have covered before once or twice on this channel. The 1979 season, for which this car is a representation, yeah, he didn't do great. He was 15th overall in the DRM and 8th in his class. And thereon after that, his career waned away, and he seems to have done less and less racing with less and less results through until about 1982, 1983. However, for a while, he was a fairly renowned DRM driver, and much as the Warsteiner cars in this livery didn't really produce great results, they were stunning liveries and very standout for their time. So these cars are remembered fondly, I would say. So having had quite a good look at the outside while I've rambled along, I shall take this off here now and we'll take the body off it and have a look inside. Okay, so let's take a look at what you actually get. And this is where I kind of justify the fact that I think you get a better product for about the same money when you get a racer sideways car. So first off, we've looked at the body. It is super light. The interior is super light. It could probably do with a little bit of foil tape to stop it rattling, but that's about all. Now, these bodies are quite fragile, and if you are a little bit heavy-handed with the crashes, you may find that all of these little tiny pieces in here, the grills and so on, they are only held in with like a melt. So if you think this car is going to have a bit of a life, I would probably add a bit of glue before they come detached, because otherwise they probably will. Generally speaking, I mean, one of my other ones has had a bit of a battering. The windows came detached. Again, not a problem, because you can just pop these out on the melts and fix the glass in better and so on if you need to, if it comes loose. I've not broken a rear wing off any of them yet, and I got my first ones of these when I was, shall we say, inexperienced at driving without magnets, so they have had a hard life. This one won't have such a hard life. I've learned a bit since then. So yes, straight off, really light, very well detailed, and so on. Now, the two body screws, I don't know if you can see it, but they do have an unthreaded bit, so you can get some decent uninterrupted body float if you loosen these two screws off, if you're tuning the car up. Slot it flat 6 motor, slot it gear, you know, slot it bits and pieces. But quite a lot more besides, because yes, they give you the little tiny Allen key, and the reason they give you the little tiny Allen key is because standard sideways cars come with grub screws in the top and in the bottom, so you can fully and accurately adjust your front axle height on a setup block for how you'd like to run your car. On top of that, it's an angle winder. They're just better. They are. This pod comes with a single mount at the front, 2 side mounts, and 2 at the back. However, because you get more with these cars, in this little baggie that's stuck underneath, you get this piece. This piece will replace this front piece here. So if you want to run your pod in that kind of 4-bolt setup, you can put this bracket in instead of the other one and run these two as the fixing points at the front instead of that single one, if you choose to do that sort of configuration. So that's included. There are some other bits in here included, which are different parts to allow you to mount different motors. So there are motor plates and so on here. And there are these pieces. Now these pieces are the axle carriers. They go in the back here, and they are replacements for this one, and they are offset millimeter. So if you take the axle out of here and take out the equivalent black plastic thing that's in here, put the axle in that one and put that one in, you will move this axle 1 millimeter upwards relative to the body, which will lower the body closer to the track, which if you're running on like a super smooth wood track, you might want to do. If you're running like I am on plastic track that's got joints and bumps, just don't, because you'll probably end up far too low to the track. The car will bottom out and it's not going to be a good time. But Sideways provides you with all of these options. On top of that, all of these screws that need them have a threadless shank, I suppose is the word, and all of these come with a washer behind them. It's just a bit more. If you look at the back axle, well, it's held where it's held by obviously the grub screw on the gear, but they've put an axle stopper on this end. So you could adjust everything where you want and then put wheels on, and if you want to space them out further or push them in further to align them correctly, you can, just by having the extra axle stopper on the end, which allows you more scope for adjustment. So I just think overall you get more car for not much more money, and most of it's slotted bits anyway. But you don't have to fiddle around. You don't have to get extra bits. I mean, I shall probably pop this magnet out of here, and I'll put a little bit of lead either side and just set the front axle height. One thing I will do, because much like a slot it comes with copper braids, and I don't like copper braids on my track, so I will swap the braids over for some tinned braids. A bit of lube. I shall loosen the pod off just very slightly so that the body has a little bit of rock and roll. So the chassis and the pod have a bit of rock and roll between them, and then I'll have a bit more in the body just by loosening off the screws. Bit of lube, and we'll take it for a run, see how it goes. I mean, it ran all right before. I'm sure it'll run even better. These cars do seem to, I mean, people talk about the dimensions of the triangle. These cars do seem to have quite a good, advantageous setup for that. I don't know, the proportions and the weight distribution and everything are just good. These handle really well. It's quite popular for racing. There are sideways Group 5 racing classes, and I can see why. And they're easily tunable, and they're a lot of fun, and they look cool. So, like I say, I'm going to pop the magnet out, a little bit of weight in, change the braids, oil it up, just check everything's square on the setup plate, and then I'll take it to the track. So let me take you through what I've done. First thing I did was swap out the guide and the braid for Slotting Plus. Put the standard guide in, it just nipped the top of the post off because it doesn't need to be there. And, you know, there's plenty of spring in that. That's lovely. Straight fit. It's just a slightly better guide for the Carrera track. And like I say, I didn't want the copper braids anyway. Then adjusted these 4 tiny little Allen hex bolts so that these wheels definitely, definitely touch the setup block, but they're not lifting the guide out of this slot. So and that I find is just about right on my Carrera track with a slightly raised rails. Don't want to be too low, doesn't want to be too mad. 2 pieces of lead, one either side, further towards the back than the front as they will go, but in the side pieces. It's about, that much. I don't know. I just do it by feel, really. And put it on the plate and set the exact position of these wheels on the axle so that they match up and are exactly central. Wasn't far off, I have to say, but I did just move this one out, 0.5 millimetre or so. And that to me seems fine. And then just oil everywhere. In terms of tuning, the other great thing about these sideways cars is they are consistent when they're made. So I know I just take enough of a turn off that front one just to give it some movement. About just over half a turn off each of these and a little bit more off each of these, so that this has some but not huge movement. That's enough. And then when I put the body shell back on, these two screws, I'll tighten them right up and I'll back them off very slightly, quarter of a turn at the most. And I know this car will then, if I just quickly light sand the tyres, the rears, won't even bother with the fronts because they seem pretty good to me, just looking at them here. Just light sand the rear tyres, and I know this car is going to run around this track beautifully. And that's the joy of these. If once you've got how one of these works on your track, that happened to be this one, you can just do them all the same and they'll all behave beautifully on your track. From car to car, I find them to be completely consistent, really like nothing else. Certainly even more consistent than a revo slot between two cars. So again, you know, promotional broadcast on behalf of the Racer Sideways brand, I just think you get a lot of car for your money. Right, I shall pop this on and either eat my words or prove my point and just stick this on the track and give it another lap. Right then, let's give this thing a go. Smart race set up for a lap. We'll see how this works out. So there we are, we're just under 6 seconds already. And this car hasn't even sort of run in yet. I've not burnt the motor in or anything. Literally done what you've seen, put it on the track. As you could hear, very smooth, very quiet. Just an easy running car and easy to control. Got the back out a little bit in that corner. Easy to correct it. Have I mentioned this before? I really like Racer Sideways Group 5 cars. Right, let's have a bit more fun then. As always, thanks for taking the time to watch one of my videos. If you liked it, you will find a button specifically for that. Please subscribe to the channel, it's free and it really does help. And if you hit the bell, you'll get a notification the next time I post a video.